All right, welcome to Bloom in Full Color. I'm Adam Thompson. This is PJ McGuire. This is going to be part 2 of our veggie seed starting discussion. But anyway, so we covered in the last podcast about kind of the preliminaries, shopping through the seed catalogs, making sure you do your research on how to properly, germinate your seeds. Space planning, design, things like that. And then PJ was starting to talk about heat mats.
Mm-hmm.
Do your research on heat mats. They're really good for like a householder germination operation. But yeah, then I guess let's continue the discussion from there.
So what I ended up doing for myself is, and I had a little I still have a little greenhouse, but it's too cold in the greenhouse especially for seed starting this time of year, right?
Yeah.
If you have a heated greenhouse, it is not heated enough for germination for sure. So what I ended up doing was I put a grow light over my washer and dryer and used the washer and dryer as my growing bench, for lack of a better word, right? It's kind of out of the way. It wasn't a mama's living room,
Sure.
But that allowed me to not only keep like a nice warm little room, because that grow light puts out enough light to kind of warm up that environment.
Yeah.
I could never get my humidity up to the required, because in our germination chambers here at Moss, we're running at 80 to 100% humidity.
Yeah.
You're never going to come close to that. But a heat mat under your plants makes such a big difference. And we're literally talking a $20 investment. You plug it in the wall, you dial the thermostat in where you want it, and then you just set your baby plants right on top of it. And it warms the soil up from the bottom, which helps pop seed or helps germinate seed tremendously.
A lot more consistency.
Tremendously. Yes, it does. What you don't think about in your house, even if you keep a warm house, your soil temps for the plants in your house is less than the house temp.
Yeah.
So if you keep your house
physics,
100%, right? So if you keep your
why
house,
a mushroom is cold when you touch it, I guess.
interesting.
Yeah, because of the water, the evaporative loss from the water inside the mushroom cools the skin of it.
Interesting.
So when a mushroom, if it's alive, will always feel cool to the touch.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's why, your soil temp is not necessarily what the air temperature is.
Correct. In fact, it never is.
And typical germination temperature is between like 76 and 80 degrees, I would say, off the top. There's obviously things that are outside of that range. There are some things that are just happy in
much
room
cooler
temperature, whatever.
Back to your research, right? Because you got to we keep saying research. Why is it important, you guys? Because we don't want you to waste money, right? It's nothing worse than spending money on something that doesn't happen. The other thing is we want you to be gardeners. We want you to be excited about this, and it will hurt your spirit when you spend money and effort and time to do something that doesn't happen. Most of us, we're human. We go, all right, I'm done with that. I'm not doing it anymore. And there's an easy, simple fix. You got to do your research. I'll give you a great example. Rhubarb. I am from the South. I'm from Southern California. I'm from Southern Nevada. We never saw it. It would grow fine in the heat. It doesn't have the cool temp for the rest. Rhubarb won't grow in the South.
Oh, it won't perennialize.
It will, correct. Yeah, you could probably grow it as some type of annual.
Grow it in a pot.
With no cool season, rhubarb will not survive a season, which is why you never see rhubarb in the South, right? My friends from Wisconsin and Michigan, they go crazy when we bring rhubarb to the farmer's market because that's what they grew up with. You got to do your research. Why do I say that? Because if you live in Las Vegas, no reason to buy rhubarb seed to start your rhubarb.
Yeah.
My point being, you're going to spend the time, the effort, and the energy, and it will not be successful. We're trying to help you be successful, right? That's important to all of us.
Yeah, I tried to grow white sage one time, and that was another thing we were talking about, scarification. I didn't scarify it nearly well enough because it is pretty hard seed coat.
Right.
And I got a couple plants out of it, and they were just miserably unhappy, like forever. And yeah, come to find out, like they're California white sage for a reason. Like,
there you go.
It's not Idaho white sage. It doesn't grow here. Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting.
So research is important. I want to get back to like seed trays and humidity. I think this is a common mistake from your home gardener. Is just seeds need as close to 100% humidity as you can provide. 70 and upward is adequate. But you're going to get better germination, more consistency across your flat if you have a dome of some sort.
Well, and it could even be simpler than that. So a dome is what you could buy to do this. So a dome is a plastic bubble that fits perfectly over like a plug tray.
Sure.
But another cheap and easy way to do it, I put mine in a gallon freezer bag. I will seed my whole flat and I shove the whole thing in a plastic bag. You got to be on your game because the first day those plants pop and it's still in a plastic bag, you'll burn them right up.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a touchy thing. The cool thing about the dome is you have a little bit of room between your
airspace.
But we were talking about like anyways, It's an easy hack. The reason you put a bag over something like that is in an effort to keep the humidity high enough to germinate seed.
Consistent and not, and you
Correct.
don't want to lift the dome up, checking on your babies.
Correct.
I get the desire to do that, but leave the dome on until you see essentially true leaves, or when those plants start touching the dome, then you're going to want to kind of open the dome halfway for a
once
day
they
or
crack,
two.
that 100% humidity requirement is down. In fact, plants themselves aren't fans of 100% humidity.
No.
So what we're talking about two different things, right? And in fact, our team is very cautious about the syrup moss. Our team is in the germ room every single day. In fact, in many cases, multiple times in the day, so that the plants come out of the germination room almost the minute the plant comes out of the ground. And that's on purpose, because a plant does not want 100% humidity and no light.
Yeah.
But that is in fact what a seed wants, right?
That's what a mushroom wants.
Correct. So we're cautioning you to be a little careful when you have these domes and you have the humidity. It will help your germination. The seed mat will help your germination, but you kind of got to be on your game, because that same mat that's keeping your seed warm will also burn your 2-leaf plant to death.
Yes.
Under a plastic bag and a light and a heat mat.
Yes.
And that plant is like, screw you guys, I'm done.
I was going to caveat with that when you were talking about the heat mats, but I was like, let them learn that themselves.
Well,
but you can burn your plants, and it's something to consider if you're using these heat mats.
Heat mats, domes, humidity is super important. Light levels are a big thing. Everybody wants to put their seeds in bright light. I disagree with that. Seeds themselves do not need light to crack. In fact, if you think about it, they're buried in the dirt. They need no light whatsoever to get that to crack. Now, the minute it grows, you're in a different light requirement. But the reason I tend to germinate my seeds in a little lower light, it keeps my humidity up because I'm not blasting it with light. It keeps my soil moisture longer if I'm not blasting it with light and heat, right? So I tend to hedge it that way, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
But you just got to be careful.
Yeah, in the germination stage, I've rarely ever gone back and watered.
Correct, right? One and done.
Because I keep a humidity. My stroke method, I don't even do that.
So you like stick your hand in the bag or like I would always look for some condensation droplets on my whatever. If I had a dome, I want a couple of. I just want to know the moisture.
I have done some emergency kind of spraying, but yes, and it's because I've seen on the dome or the whatever plastic that there wasn't normal amount of condensation. Right. So I could tell the soil under there must have been dry.
There you go.
And it'll start in the center of your flat too, right? Because that's where the light focus is.
I also feel like this is where people lose a plot, right? People, you really don't realize how much water it takes to hydrate dry peat moss or any kind of a dry soil medium, right?
Yeah.
So the reason you have such success is because when you're done with your seeding, you've made your soil wet. I see a lot of people who are like, oh, I got it wet, and I can go and scratch the first quarter inch and find bone dry soil.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is, if once you've seeded that seed and you've watered, if you got your soil profile wet, you can be hands off almost until it cracks.
Yeah.
Right. If you've gone to the trouble to hydrate,
to saturate,
your your soil.
My cheapest form of the domes and stuff, because you start looking at those plastic domes, they're not cheap. They're molded. They don't last forever.
Right, they only fit one plug tray, not all of them.
So what I do for my at-home seeding is I get our 1204 inserts, which is like just plugs. You know, it's a plug tray basically. It's what we sell our marigolds in. If you've ever been out to Moss or pansies. Anyway, and so I keep the soil intentionally low, like about 3/4 of an inch below the top of that tray. But after I plant my seeds, and I just take saran wrap right over the top, and then I take masking tape and I go all the way around so that it's almost a perfect seal. And then as soon as I see those plant stems kind of necking up to the plastic, then I just take the whole thing off. I do kind of skirt it up on the sides. I'm a little bit of a coddler, and I let them have like 50% humidity for a day, and then I expose them to like the 20% in my apartment.
Kind of harden them off a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, just to not shock them. But really, they don't need that much care probably. Vegetables are resilient.
And especially seeds, I find the plants generally are super vigorous. Like a plant crack from seed is got a taproot you don't even see that's doing some business, right? Yeah. So generally, these are vigorous. If you get good leaves coming up, you've done a good job with your seed, in my experience anyways.
Welcome.
Roots are more important.
Always.
Hey now.
Hi.
Are we going to have
Jennifer's now joining
roots and shoots debate?
We'll have to have our cameraman pan back.
That's okay.
She's back. She runs a company, in case you guys were wondering. She's a busy lady.
I get a phone call.
She gets to pop in as she pleases. It's fine.
Yeah, I do. I wish it was that simple.
Okay.
No, just as long as your roots are strong, your top growth, because you can have seeds that just grow on the top and there's very little roots,
True.
and that'll bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to do as a home gardener because we think of overhead light, like in our little grow lights, but we don't necessarily think about heat underneath. And so you just need to make sure that there's at least enough warmth, or you put a heat pad down or
We
something.
did talk about
Like,
seedling
and
max.
I'm coming in midway here.
That's
so.
right. With good stuff though.
But yeah, and I would say anybody who's trying to crack and grow ghost peppers, know that success is very hard even for us
Yep.
as a professional grower.
So I'd say all of the hot
So
hots
all
we
the
struggle
really,
with.
really, really hot
Yeah.
things. So your habaneros, your Thai, your Carolina Reapers, all those big guys, they need. I believe that the cultural information when you're trying to sweat out the seed to get it to break its radial, right, so it'll germinate,
Mhm.
is between 85 and 90 degrees for 30 to 45 days solid.
Get out of That's how you crack a
That's
ghost
how you
pepper.
crack 'em.
Wow.
What was the degrees again?
It's like 85 to 90
Yeah, I was gonna
degrees.
say, I think
For
it's
a
80.
Full
month.
humidity
For a
for like
month.
30 to 45 days.
Yeah,
It's a
100%
lot.
humidity.
And then to do
90%.
that without dampening off or any
Yeah,
sort of
or-
fungal
Or,
infection.
or creating any fungus.
Yeah.
Like you have to have enough.
ruining all the rest of your
It
plants.
is almost virtually impossible for a home grower to pull it off. Now, there are people who are super hotheads that have figured it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what those secrets are. I'm sorry I can't offer that.
Think about where those
But-
come from, right? They come from hot places.
Yeah.
They come from, but you probably put that on the back porch at the equator and it would hold the 80%.
And if you are really looking for those kind of plants, yes, moss grows some of them, but not all of them. And we've reduced that menu a little bit just because of something happening out in our production department. It wasn't feasible to continue planting it. So ask the Facebook groups online
There you go.
or ask your friends on Instagram, like, hey, like there are groups of hotheads, figure out where they're getting their product.
Well, and the guys that are good at
Ask
cracking
around.
them will crack 100 more than they need to. So they love to either share, sell you, somebody
Well,
will
or
have
if you
access
have
to that.
any
And
issue
we
of crop
have
failure.
a nice inventory of hot peppers
Yes, we
for
do.
those
Yes, we
of you that fail.
Hey,
you can come to our store.
I always just get our peppers from us. I mean,
yeah,
I cheat.
Can I get my-
peppers. I would just advise just go buy them.
Just buy peppers.
And
buy
ready for this,
peppers.
guys? In this area, don't even think about putting them out in your garden until July. I'm just telling you right now. I have tried for years to get them out.
So I
The
disagree
hot
with
stuff.
you.
The hot stuff.
I disagree with
Oh
you.
man, I
I
think
still plant mine in the middle of May, but I plant them together with other peppers so they're protected. Don't expect them to do anything until July, though.
this is my point. So
Is that
I
fair?
tried to push it. I
Is
was
that
trying to get
fair?
to farmers market early. In
No.
my experience, like all you're doing is fighting something that doesn't want to. They're not happy.
Have you
Like,
guys
just wait till you get to those good hot nights and the good hot days. That's my experience
Right.
with
have
hot
you,
peppers.
have you guys
specific.
talked about the days on what a vegetable is listed as?
No, because we're only talking about seed right now.
No, we've been all
We have
over the
not.
place.
Okay, so when you see a tomato, right, and it says it's a
And-
86-day tomato.
Oh, okay. We
Okay.
have not talked about this.
So what that definition of days is from the transplant or the seed, the plant going into its finished container
Right.
or
It's
ground
not
spot.
from you cracking the
It's
seed.
not from you cracking the
Right.
seed. So I just want to, so when you see a tomato that's 52 days, like an early girl, that's 52 days when you plant the plant to when it harvests. And that there's some other variables like weather and stuff, but that is guesstimated, assuming that everything goes right. And know that if it's determinate, it is a bushing. Indeterminate, it is a climbing. I believe there's even some nuance, and I'd have to grab Tammy to ask to verify this, but like determinate tomatoes come on in
it
a
sets
flush.
fruit all at once. Yes.
Yeah, it sets it flush,
And the
whereas
others-
indeterminate is constantly.
100% right.
Okay.
Right?
See, I know what I'm
because
talking
the pear
about.
tomato is an indeterminate. It gets all the fruit all at once. You kind of harvest all at once, and then the plant's kind of gone. Where
Well,
most
which-
of the tomatoes we grow are all season. You're out there
All the
picking your
season.
reds.
And
right?
I'll be candid. I do not grow any determinate varieties. I just, in my own garden, I don't do it.
Just a pain in the
Moss
butt for
does.
you. Yeah, we sell
Well, I don't have any need for a determinate tomato. I have plenty of room. It can spread out.
them. Right.
So
Fair enough.
Interesting. Do all seeds? Like I've never looked at a broccoli to see how many days. From
40,
planting to
45 to
group.
60.
No, but so does every. I just
Every
wondered if
single
so
item.
they'll tell you how many days.
Every single
Yeah,
item.
I never.
We have it
I don't know
listed
why,
in
I
our
never paid
entire
attention to that.
catalog that you have on your desk.
There you go.
But
By
I mean, the
golly.
seed companies usually.
No,
would
I'm
have
sure. I
information.
100% have seen it with tomatoes. 100% seen it with peppers, right? Because of a yellow pepper starts as a green pepper, and you just need 3 more weeks on the plant to turn into
Yep.
orange. Right?
Every green pepper actually turns into a color if you leave
That's
it
right,
on there.
If you wait long enough. True.
Yeah, and that actually kind of segues to maybe our next podcast, maybe one in advance. But I do want to have a podcast about deconstructing a plant tag. To your point,
the
about
mechanics of a
days.
plant tag.
Yes.
Smart. How the light? Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. In fact, let's shoot that next week. And yeah. Anyway, that concludes our podcast for the day. We invite you to live life in full color.
Because plain is pretty boring.
Yeah. Okay,
Good job.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, you
Happy
guys.
New Year.